This video is a collection of clips from my last session with Zeus. He kind of wanted to have trouble with right there when I pick up the back cinch and go to do it up. He wants to pick up his right rear leg and threaten me like he is offering to kick. He does it again right there, but to a lesser extent. That was kind of a consistent thing with saddling him. This horse had some behavioral things that could have been pain, or maybe he was just pissy. It's hard to say for sure without more intervention. Here we have moved to the round pen. I do up his cinch just a little bit more, and then we play around on the ground. This horse wanted to have pretty decent feel out on the circle in an enclosed space. If you got him out in the open, he kind of wanted to run off with you. I go to throw the rope over his back, something that he has seen before, and that kind of blows his mind. He just wants to pull away and change directions on me without me asking. This is a pretty consistent response for him, even though he has seen this before and ended in a good spot with it. It takes him a little bit to realize that I'm not trying to kill him, even though he has already been through this exercise. Once he settles down and gets soft, travels around at a walk gently, then I quit throwing it over his back, and we change directions. But I'm looking for him to change directions with quality and actually disengage. I worked a lot with this horse on being able to lower his head. I tighten up his halter a little bit right there. He really wanted to lift his head up in the air and play the draft game with me when I first started working with him. So that's something that I spent quite a bit of time on. That was a lot more quality right there, changing directions. And I immediately go into throwing the rope over his back on that side. He's still kind of bothered by it, offers to change directions without me asking, but he's not nearly as bad on this side. Once again, this is something that he has been over with me quite a few times at this point. A little bit of praise. I show bridling right here because that was something that he had a little bit of trouble with when I first started messing with him. Once again, he was really bad about wanting to raise his head up in the air. And he's a pretty tall horse. He's right around 16 hands. So if he wants to put his head up in the air and not take the bit, he absolutely could. So I worked quite a bit on being able to ask him to lower his head and to take a bit with a little bit of quality. And he's pretty decent here. He's by no means perfect, but he's a lot better than he was when we first started. This horse is pretty fidgety with the bit. He wants to mouth the bit and mess around pretty much the whole time it's in his mouth. I'm not sure if that's something that he will grow out of, but it's something that he does for now. Here I go to step on him. This was my 11th ride on Zeus, and once again, this was day 17 with him. All of my rides on this horse were on my place. I rode him quite a bit in my yard, my round pen, and out here in my pasture. I never did take him out into the big country because I wanted to put a little bit nicer of a handle on him before he went out. But he had some underlying issues. He ended up coughing. You can see him cough a few times in this footage right here. And sometimes he would cough so bad that you had to stop what you were doing and let him catch his breath again. And my vet didn't know exactly what was going on there. And he also had some symptoms that could have been just behavioral, like he was pissy about having to work, or they could have been pain related. So I ended up stopping with this session, and his owner took him back to potentially look into that. You can see how much he's swishing his tail here at the lope. That started to get pretty consistent. almost like he was hurting somewhere, but that is above my pay grade. I can just tell an owner what the horse is doing. They have to pursue it further. He breaks into a trot right here and we change directions. And this horse isn't particularly soft in the bridle. He wants to gawk his mouth and stay pretty stiff. And right here I bend him all the way around because he's just absolutely leaning on me and kind of taking off in the direction he wants to go. He's a very rigid horse. He didn't really want to be very soft with me. And the left circle was absolutely worse for him. He will pick up either lead, but it's not particularly pretty. And you can see him swishing his tail whenever he's at the lope. There he tripped and picked up the wrong lead. So I bring him around again. I'm kind of aggressive about it. And then we go right back out onto the circle after a little more disengaging. I absolutely did not like how he felt right there. That's why I got so aggressive about disengaging him. Picks up a left lead, pretty nice. A little more tail swishing. Once again, that could just be pissiness because he has to work, or there's a potential that it could be pain related. It's hard to say for sure without looking into it further. He's a lot cleaner about cruising around right there. Breaks back to a trot nicely. All the time, I'm looking for softness. No matter what we're doing, no matter what gait we're in, I'm always looking for him to be soft with me. Whenever I have any pressure on his mouth, whether I have pressure on both reins or just one, he is always working his mouth. Here we are just trotting around on a left circle, and I'm looking for him to get soft. And when he does right there, then I praise him. And we circle back around to the barrel and stop. Now this clip is about 20 minutes later in the session. We had been screwing around, messing with picking up leads, stopping, backing, having some sort of feel. And he actually lopes a pretty decent left-handed circle for me. He'd been pretty tough to keep in a left lead and wanted to wing to the outside and act like he wanted to run off. And he finally had a little bit of quality here. So we lope a circle or two and then stop. And that was what I had been looking for the entire time. I step right off of him right there. I loosen up his cinch and then go to lead him back towards my tack shed. And he acts like I wasn't even walking away, doesn't even care. So I ask him to go out on a circle. He immediately tries to change directions on me. He's throwing his head and fighting me and trying to pull away. Once again, he doesn't lunge very well in a big open area. He just wants to run off. This is a good example of that. So I'm looking now for him to lunge with a little bit of quality, since he decided that running off was easier than leading. I go to change directions. I have him in split reins there, and I would rather not lunge him in a bit, but this is the situation that we have. Just looking for him to get kind of soft. Now, any softness here would transfer up into the saddle as well, but he's pretty steady about keeping pressure on me all the time. All this rigidity is what you're seeing under saddle as well. It can be worked on here. I'm just waiting for him to get soft, to have a little bit of quality. I would have been happy to be done working him when I stepped off of him, but he needs to lead. He's 7 years old. There's really no excuse. I'm going to look for him to get right before we quit. This horse would get it in his mind that he could just pull away, like that would make the pressure go away, and that just was not the case. You'll see in quite a few spots here where he tries to just pull back, and it just does not work. There I kind of get after his hip because he's dragging his hip around on the inside of the circle quite a bit. So I just messed around with this until he had some semblance of quality on both sides, in both directions. And when he was right, then we quit. And it took a little bit because he was pretty sure he could just pull away from me and run off. We actually ran out of drone battery before he got right, so I don't get to show the very end of this. But he did get right before we quit this session. He's already a little bit better right here. Once again, I would have been totally happy with stepping off him and leading him up to my tack shed, but that was too hard, so we went back to work. Once again, this was day 17, ride 11 with Zeus. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.